Hello everyone, this is Larry James and welcome to another edition of Community Magazine. My guest this week is Elizabeth Miller, and Elizabeth is from the Immunisation Coalition. Hello Elizabeth.
Hi Larry, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for coming in. You're going to be talking a fairly important topic about all about the Immunisation Coalition, so tell us a bit about that.
Sure. Well, basically, I'm the Business Relationship Manager at the Immunisation Coalition, and we are a non-for-profit organisation, and we've been around for about 30 years now. And we work with all healthcare practitioners, governments, community groups, and also the wider community. We advocate the importance of immunisation and vaccination for all Australians for all of life, which is quite relevant now. And I'm currently a registered nurse, and I've been in healthcare for about 40 years now, and I think I've just shared my age with your listeners there, Larry.
No, well, you say it is a very important thing. So can you tell our listeners about the relationship with COVID-19 vaccinations and other travel vaccinations, because that's all come back now, hasn't it?
It has, Larry, and I think it's very relevant and very real. And I guess for the listeners there, the most important thing is that you're up to date with your vaccinations, and that's through talking to your doctor. Or you can talk to your pharmacist about that in more detail. But ultimately, to be fully vaccinated today is to have your third or fourth dose.
Yes.
So that's full vaccination. And also to know that there's choices out there for different vaccinations. So your doctor will be able to guide you and recommend as to what's best for you.
Yep.
But I guess the other really important thing is simple things, Larry, like washing your hands, wearing a mask, keeping in well-ventilated areas. These are sort of simple things that everyone can do to keep safe.
I think that's one of the things I found when all this came about. We suddenly realised we really should be washing our hands a lot more.
It's a simple thing, and being a nurse, I mean, my sister used to call me Mr. Mestos because I was forever washing my hands. But it's simple and it's effective.
Yeah. Well, I think we're keeping Glen 20 going. We have a lot.
You haven't got shares in them, have
no,
you?
I should have. No, we do all of that, and the wipes and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And we spray all our equipment with isopropyl to keep it all tip-top condition.
And you can pick up those little bottles of sanitizer from the supermarkets. I've got them in my handbag, in my car. It's everywhere.
They're good, aren't they?
They are. And the other important thing is for your listeners, if they're travelling, some countries today require you to be fully vaccinated with your COVID vaccines. So it's important that before you travel, that you go and speak to your doctor just to make sure that you've got everything correct before you travel. And also, depending on what country you go to, some vaccinations are required to take weeks in advance because it takes a couple of weeks for your body to build up that natural immunity. So if you do come in contact with it unknowingly, you're not going to get as sick and potentially end up in hospital in another country, which we wouldn't want that.
No. Well, I suppose if you're going overseas, assuming people are booking through a travel agent, they will know what injections to
Well, that's
to
a
have.
really interesting question, Larry, because I actually did go to my local travel agent last week, actually, to find out what are the countries a lot of people are going to. And they talked about going to Japan, they talked about going to Thailand, to England and to America. And I asked the travel agent, were they having a conversation with their clients, like, do you want travel insurance? Asking them, have you had your COVID vaccine or flu? Because if you're going to the other side of the world, you're going into winter. So they're important. She said, no, we can't do that. So I thought that was really interesting because it's a medical advice and therefore a travel agent's not qualified for that. So
Good heavens.
I would have thought it'd be a simple question,
Yes.
but I think the other really important thing, Larry, for your listeners, I mean, obviously a lot of borders are open now, summer's coming, people are travelling interstate or within country or even overseas. When you actually return, it's a good idea to go and visit your GP, particularly if you have some signs or symptoms, because you may have picked something up, you've had that little virus travelling with you as you've gone around and you've come back unknowingly getting symptomatic, then you can go to your doctor and get treatment, self-isolate, so you're protecting your loved ones, your community.
It's
and
amazing, isn't it?
it's just thinking things a little bit further down the track compared to what we used to.
Yeah. Well, I suppose if travel agents can't give that advice out, you should go to your medical practitioner.
Correct. Yep.
And
your GP.
say, I'm going to whatever country. What do I need to have?
That's it. Or your pharmacist. I mean, particularly if you're wanting to know about the COVID or flu vaccinations, your pharmacist can also help you. So you've got those two resources there that can help you. So we have to think differently these days.
Well, we do, don't we? Yes. We don't want it. Although there's a lot still around in the area. They're saying it's going to peter out, but
well, I'm not. The experts are talking about that, but I think for all the listeners, it's really important that you're on your toes, as we've talked about, hand washing, mask, keeping in well-ventilated areas, and keeping up to date with your vaccinations.
Yes.
So if you do come in contact with the virus unknowingly, you're not going to get very sick, and you potentially won't present to hospital, or certainly unlikely to end up in intensive care.
Exactly.
There are extremes to that, of course, if you you have underlying issues. That obviously that's confidential between you and your doctor.
Of course.
So, but the vaccines are the best way to protect yourself and your loved ones.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So tell us about the proportion of the community that are currently vaccinated.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Larry. As of the 9th of November, according to the Australian Government Health and Aged Care website, nationally 72.2% have had their third dose, and those eligible for their fourth dose, 42.1%. So those numbers are still low, and we really need to do better. And we actually, at the Immunisation Coalition, we do quarterly surveys, and I can tell you, listeners, hot off the press, that with some information that I received yesterday, 78% of the population understand that full vaccination is to have 4 doses. So that was pretty good. Yeah. But no offence here, Larry, but it was the women that, that were more educated than the men. So it was only marginal, but obviously the women are obviously looking out for their husbands, and men have tended to sort of not really bother too much about their health.
Well, I've had my 4. So
good on you. Good on you.
Yeah.
That's terrific.
And I've just turned 70, so I've got to get my next jabs from the doctor, which is part of the health department system for keeping every older Victorians healthy.
They are, and statistically, it is our seniors right around the country that are doing the best in terms of making sure that they've had their third or their fourth dose. So they are keeping up to date with their vaccinations, and they're having that conversation with their doctor. So that's just marvellous. I wish the younger people would would follow, because our seniors are certainly leading the way in that regard, which is terrific. Yes.
So you're saying seniors are managing their health in immunisation really well, and that's great to know. Tell us a bit about travel vaccinations. We sort of talked a little bit back there. What else do we need to know?
Yeah, so as I said, with depending on what country you go to will determine what vaccine is the one that you need. It's either suggested or recommended, and your doctor can certainly help you out with that. What's important to know, most people don't think about, is preparing. So generally around 6 weeks is when you should be having the immunisation for that particular country that you're going to, because sometimes depending on the vaccine that you're having, you'll have to have potentially 1 to maybe 3 doses. So basically you're allowing your body to naturally build up that immunisation prior to departure.
Yes.
And that's something that a lot of people don't often think about. And as I said earlier, even when you do come back, if you get symptoms, you know, you might have fever or runny nose or something, pop along to your doctor, because you may have something that you weren't aware of. So that's something that I found quite interesting.
Yeah, it's certainly worth checking out, isn't it? And of course, if people have got symptoms, go and visit your GP.
That's it. That's exactly right.
Because they've got all the answers. Well, hopefully all the answers.
But I guess the main thing, Larry, is, you know, for those that are travelling, as I said, whether it be interstate or overseas, is that you have fun.
Yes.
Just be aware that, you know, you're giving yourself the ultimate protection and being up to date with all your vaccines. That's all you can do.
Yes, well, that's right. Well, seniors are certainly out and about doing travel.
I think once people retire, they actually have a busier life than what they did when they were working.
Yes, I've just had a friend stay with me from the UK for a month. And,
Oh, lovely.
We did a bit of travelling up in New South Wales.
Nice.
And, he's fine, and he had to be very careful because he's type 2 diabetic. And,
there you are.
So he was very careful, and so was I. And, but everywhere you go, lots of people milling around. Some of them have probably forgotten the fact that you need a bit of air ventilation around.
Yes, and that's really important, particularly if you're going, if you're dining at a restaurant or something, if there's an outdoor sort of space that might, as long as it's not too cold, of course.
Yes.
But that would be certainly more practical. And the other really important thing, though, for your listeners, is unfortunately we've had the floods in a lot of regional Victoria, and with that there's a lot of mosquitoes popping up now. The weather's getting warmer, and so the mosquitoes can actually be a transport, if you like, of some viruses as well.
Yes.
So it's important if you are in that sort of environment where there is a lot of water or it's a bit warm, to just wear long sleeve covering. Make sure you got your Aerogard and repellents around.
And a fly swatter.
As long as you don't hit someone with it and you swat the fly or the mosquito. Could be quite interesting, actually.
Oh, golly. So what's your final words of advice to our listeners?
So, as I said earlier, the really simple thing is just to keep up to date with your booster vaccinations, because that's going to be the best protection for yourself, and that way you can stay safe and stay well. And also, if you're 50 years and older, living in residential care, or people with underlying issues or a disability, it's recommended that you have your 4th dose. But again, have that discussion with your doctor, and
yes,
I think you'll
Excellent.
be in good health.
So if somebody wants to contact your organisation, is that possible?
Yes, by all means. They can go onto the internet, onto the website, and just type in Immunisation Coalition, and we will come up, and then you can go to our website, and there's lots of different areas that you can access. So if you want to know more information, there are some guides there that can help you.
Phone number at all, or is it not necessarily manned it all the time?
No. So I think the website's probably the best
you're out
for
and
it.
about.
Yeah, we are out and about.
Okay. All right, Elizabeth, well, thank you very much for coming in today and telling us about immunisations. It's all very important. We'll have to get you back another time, because I'm sure this is an ongoing situation, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Larry. That'd be terrific.
All right,
I'd enjoy that.
Well, I've been talking to Elizabeth Miller today, and we'll have another community magazine next week.